Good morning, and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews, and we have on our
Look at us.
Davis Chevrolet.
Look at us. Put it on there.
Yes.
Look at
We got our T-shirts from the baseball game last night.
Yeah.
We got them on backwards, folks.
We do have them on
Because
backwards.
Davis Chevrolet supports the Gators. Davis Chevrolet supports Pod Up with Matthews in the morning. I'm going to have
That's
to turn
the
mine
front
around
side.
after the first break because
Well,
it's like
it's
choking
not
me.
quite comfortable. But, you know, Freddie, our executive team, I'll call them that. Our executive team came in with these shirts last night. I saw them walk in where I was having a beer, and he gave us these shirts, one for QB and one for me. And the Gators played baseball last night against Florida State, had their first loss of the season, a 2-0 win for the semis, as now you've told me to call them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, what, 16-1?
16-1. Yeah, they
Okay.
lose 2-0. It was a great baseball game. Both teams pitched the ball
Pitchers
extremely
duel,
well. It's baseball. I mean, some days
It
you go out there and
happens.
you don't hit
Yeah.
the baseball.
Yeah.
We had 3 hits. I think they had 9. We struck out 15 of their batters.
Yeah.
Pitched the ball
yeah.
for the most part pretty well. Packed house. I listened to some of it on the game. Wasn't able to go to the game. Listen to it on the radio. But yeah.
Yeah,
it
I
is
mean,
what
you
it
would have
is.
thought you'd had Clayton Kershaw against Zach Greinke at the ballpark last night. Just a lot of good pitching, and that's the thing to me is that if you have the pitching, you will go far. And Florida has it, and obviously last night Florida State had it. But they'll play Florida State again, and
2 more times.
you know, Florida's really owned that series in recent memory, in recent history, and so Florida State gets a win here. But what's up next for Florida?
They got the Georgia Bulldogs,
that's
who
right,
are
this
ranked in
weekend.
some polls number
SEC,
2, some are ranked in number 3. They lost last
Big
night, I think,
weekend.
to Georgia Southern. So
yeah,
the midweek games mean nothing.
That's right, midweek games.
On
QB.
and softball yesterday, Gators defeat Penn. They play FSU tonight. I think Florida's ranked 7th. FSU's ranked 12th or 14th. Lacrosse beats another top 25 team here on campus. The Navy midshipmen.
The Lady Middies.
The Lady Middies. Yeah, there you go. And in basketball,
How can you call a female lacrosse team the midshipmen?
midship women.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah,
I would do that.
That didn't roll
That's
off
how I
very
would
well.
do it.
Keontae Johnson, from first team All SEC.
Andy Kennedy, he called that. Did he not call that after that game Keontae had against? They're on the road at Georgia, or was it Georgia? And yeah, and they beat him. And he said, "I'm voting for you, first team SEC."
Well,
And
I don't know if he
flat
has a
out
vote.
said it. Well, I don't know. He said that's who he would vote for.
Yeah, that's
So
who
maybe-
he would vote for. Blackshear is in this announced on the second team. Scotty Lewis on the freshman team. To the SEC tournament kicks off tonight. Got 2 games in Nashville. Georgia, Ole Miss at 7.
Right.
Vandy and Arkansas. I can't believe Arkansas is playing on day 1 at
That's
9:30. We play tomorrow
Wait,
at 3:25.
9:30 tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
2 games, 7 and 9:30.
Gee whiz.
We play the winner of the Georgia Ole Miss game tomorrow at 3:25.
3:25.
Depending
who do
on
we
what
have? Yeah, who do we have at 8:30? QB.
8:30, we have Blake Alderman for 247 Sports talking
Whoa.
Gator recruiting.
Okay.
Talk about what happened
Nice.
this past weekend for Junior Day here on campus.
Junior Day.
Yeah, they're doing phenomenal in recruiting.
Well, and spring football's about to crank
Monday.
up, and Monday is when it starts. The orange and blue game is April 18th, 1 o'clock. So a lot to look forward to if you're following football. But I'll tell you right now, QB, the story that just won't go away, that seems to be getting bigger and bigger each day, is the COVID-19 coronavirus and how its effects on America, on the world, but in our case, in sports. Now, you go over there and go, hoo-hoo, poo-hoo, it's not a big deal. Well, apparently it is a big deal. The Ivy League.
Well, okay, but did you hear about the Ivy League? They canceled their basketball tournament, but they're playing every other
That's what
sport.
I was going to say.
That makes no damn sense.
Well, here's what they're saying. They're saying that when people congregate in tight places like gymnasiums or whatever, that's dangerous.
Okay, well then don't have the tournament where the kids can compete.
They're canceling the tournament
and don't have people show up, because I know there are some leagues that are doing that.
So the governor of Ohio is saying the governor of Ohio is saying no spectators. We shouldn't have any fans at our MAC tournament, but then the Columbus Blue Jackets of the NHL, they're filling up the arena.
I don't.
So there's a lot of inconsistency, is what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
And the word of the day today, Taylor, if you're ready for this, is epidemiology. Epidemiology and public health. And epidemiology in public health is a big conversation piece right now because we are trying to decide whether or not it is safe to all congregate. And apparently a lot of folks are saying it's not. The governor of Ohio says no spectators at our MAC tournament. The Columbus Blue Jackets, however, will have a full house at Nationwide Arena. No consistency whatsoever. The governor of Virginia, Jay Inslee, is saying that we now must restrict gatherings of 250 or more people. I don't know how he came up with that number, but how does that affect us in the sports world? Well, here's how. They have a NCAA tournament site in Spokane, Washington. So are they going to move that site? We don't know what the NCAA is going to do. The executive director or the main man at the NCAA, Mark Emmert, has said it's all up to the conferences on what they must do as far as these tournaments are concerned.
Epidemiology.
Epidemiology.
We should have had a doctor on today.
Let's get that on there. Epidemiology. It's a big word. Learn it because that's you're going to hear that word quite a bit. Taylor, throw it up there. So the
epidemiology.
Folks, I know what it sounds like. Can you put the word up there for us, please?
He's working.
Okay, work on that, please. Gene Arnold says we look ridiculous. Well, I'll tell you what, Gene. Rick Davis and Shannon don't think we look ridiculous. I know Shannon, by the way. She plays tennis with my wife, and I've met Rick on a trip, and I saw him at a tennis court, and he loves this. So. Way to go, Rick and Shannon. All right, as I was saying, here's the biggie, though. Here's the big one. Dan Wolken. You ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Dan Wolken of USA Today says flat out cancel the NCAA basketball tournament, men's and women's.
Ridiculous.
Cancel it. He says it's a tough call, but it's the right call as he fuels the flames and the fire
trying to sell
of
papers.
Fear. Well, listen.
I mean,
that makes sense to me. He might be trying to. There it is. Epidemiology.
If you happen to watch like
Word of the day.
NBC Nightly News or one of those deals at 6:30, you would think the world's coming to an end. Of course. The media has blown this out of proportion, in my opinion.
Well, we don't want people to die.
I understand that, but it's mostly affecting
so far.
Older people
in this country.
Is that true or not?
That is true.
Okay, how many 70 and 80-year-old people go to sporting events?
They just don't want it to spread, QB. That's the whole thing.
I understand.
I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you what's out there. And it is a big topic of discussion.
I know
it
is, and I'm not minimizing it all, but my point is,
I just touched my face.
You you can't just go lock yourself in a closet. You have to continue living, and sporting events are important. If you don't want to go, don't go. If you're worried about it spreading, let the guys play. Don't let people in the arena.
I agree, and I don't know
what the Ivy League is doing is ridiculous.
Well, they're canceling the whole darn thing,
and it's not fair to those kids, and it's not fair when they're letting other sports continue playing.
Well, maybe they just figure nobody goes to the other sports.
Well,
how many go to an Ivy League?
How many people go to the Ivy League tournament? Period.
Not many. Not many.
Okay,
but I would
so
think
let the
the
kids
gymnasium
play.
is kind of small.
They are
too.
small,
Yeah.
and let them play, and just lock the doors. Nobody can come in.
Lock the doors. You're not at it. You know,
put
in
chains
Italy,
on it.
QB, the entire country of Italy is shut down.
I understand.
The entire country. I think it's like the 7th largest or 6th largest economy on Earth.
Okay, answer this.
This whole country is quarantined.
Dr. Cornell, answer this.
By the way, Italy, going back to your point on older people, it's got the second oldest population amongst developed countries. And everybody in Italy is always going like this. They're like, oh, God, the life. And so that's a good point you made, QB. Second oldest
and like I said, I'm not trying to minimize the issue here, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Million square miles.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Now we're what's that show, The Doctors on TV? We've become the doctors today. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll try.
Is it not true that more people die from the regular flu than they have from this?
Well, there's a much larger number of people who have that flu. This is just coming out. This is just kind of like starting. The city of Seattle is literally going to shut down the city. My nephew, who works for Amazon in Seattle, was told, just stay home. You're not coming to work. This has an economic... behavioral economics lessons going on right here. And this is media-driven, as Carrie would say. Thank you for that.
Carrie agrees with me on the Facebook Live comment brought to you by Pound Hurt.
Hurt.
We should see what Pound Hurt has to say about this.
I'll tell you, when an entire country literally shuts down, though, that gets your attention, and I don't know how they're reacted to. This country, Italy, which I have descendants, is 116 million square miles. It's about the size of maybe the size of Nevada. I don't know. Something like that. What? Florida. Okay, so let's say it's the size of Florida. 60 million people live in Italy, and they are absolutely so. The soccer league in Italy, it's called the Series A Soccer League, which is akin to Major League Baseball. It is their biggest league. No crowds for 30 days, and now they're just saying no more. None. Zip, zap, out. No more sports. No more gatherings. I don't want that to happen in this country. Obviously, there's a lot of money involved in the NCAA tournament. I don't know what they're going to do about it, but that is a concern, QB. It just is. Whether
well,
you
I know
it is.
There's
or
nothing
not.
we can do about it. But
I
I'm
mean,
not going to
Spokane,
sit here.
Washington, the governor's saying no gatherings of 250 or more people. I don't know. Again, I don't know where he came up with 250 people, but no gatherings, and they have a site for either first or second round in Spokane. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. There's a lot of inconsistencies. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, they can play at Nationwide Arena in a hockey game, but the governor of Ohio is saying the MAC tournament shouldn't have any spectators.
Well, also the first two games of the NCAA tournament are played in Dayton, Ohio. So what's going to happen there?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think the tournament will go on in my opinion.
Epidemiology, folks. That's the word of the day today. Freddie
Epidemiology.
says. Yep. Freddie says, relax. The corona will not last. It's made. I don't know if it was made or if it just happened in China, but he says it's made in China.
They made it.
Exactly where in China? Here's geography with QB.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to tell you so you can sound smart about this. The Wuhan province. The Wuhan province. And the Chinese are all pissed off now because we're calling it the Wuhan virus. They don't want it to be known as the Wuhan virus, but it's in the Wuhan province of China, QB. Wuhan, the Wuhan province. So now you know where it came from. There you go, Freddie. He's coming in. They don't like the fact that people think it came from China, but that's where it came from. Yes. Sorry.
If you want to send us a text on the Titan MR text line, it's 352-353-7465. Don't forget at 8:30, Blake Alderman talking Gator recruiting.
So wait a minute. So you sit around watching the NBC News at 6:30 or
no. I'm saying sometimes when I'm cooking dinner or eating, cooking on the grill, I watch our local news.
Oh,
sometimes. But then the national news comes on right after.
That's ABC News,
and you would think it's just like
ABC News with David Muir.
Yeah. It's breaking.
Corona fear.
Every day something is breaking. Just in.
I feel like right now breaking something about this Corona thing. The chaos it's created in the stock market and the bond market is unbelievable every day. It's hard to live with right now, but, we're living with it.
Well, last night Gonzaga punched their ticket.
They did.
They're going to be a 1 seed.
Not a big surprise there. They'll be a 1 seed.
Northern Kentucky wins their league.
Who else punched? Did you know?
Robert Morris.
Bobby Moe.
They win their league. I'm trying to think if there are any other. I think Hofstra punched their ticket.
That's right. Yeah, Hofstra, the school up in New York. Gosh.
So today starts all the big boy tournaments.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday there was 2 games in the ACC tournament. North Carolina won.
Yeah.
Pitt won. Today.
Speaking of North Carolina winning, our man Jackie Spreads yesterday. Jackie Spreads brought to you by Peachland Dental. He picked North Carolina to win, as well as Pittsburgh in a parlay. That both won. Those games won. He won that. He lost the Lakers over. This guy right here picked the Nashville Predators to win at Montreal. Check mark. Ding. Where's my bell? And then also the North Carolina Tar Heels to cover the 3.5. They won by 13 or 14. Beat up on Virginia Tech. They move on. Can the ACC team play 4 straight days? Would it be 4 or 5 straight days they would have to play to win that tournament?
Their tournament championship game is Saturday night.
So it'd be 4 straight days? So let's see. Today's Wednesday, so Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday. They would have to play 5 straight days?
I believe so.
They're not winning. No chance. No. They have no legs. They'll have no legs by Friday. I know, Dan, and you talked about how in the AAU that they'd have no chance of winning that tournament on the 5th day. I don't think. But they looked great last night, and so we nailed that one on our segment with Jackie Spreads, brought to you by Peachland Dental.
All right, we're going to take our first time out of the program. We come back, we'll talk.
Thank you, guys.
JC has a lot of great notes here for us. I'm not sure it's a lot of scribble.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit of NFL free agency. We're also going to talk about some things going on with the Dallas Cowboys. And we're also going to get ready for our man Blake Alderman, who's going to talk Florida recruiting at the bottom of the hour.
Yep. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida, and understand that all small businesses need a community bank partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC.
So Spike Lee says that he is no longer ever going to a New York Knicks game.
Well, that's because he got kicked out. It has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
So, no, I wasn't going to refer to that. I was going to refer to the fact that they're just so pathetic. I mean, year in and year out.
They wouldn't let him go in his little entrance
little
that he always used.
Yeah,
They made him
said enough of him.
Yeah.
The Lakers lost last night. The Clippers won last night. How about these Brooklyn Nets? I don't know how they win these games on the road at Boston, at Lakers, but they got this guy named Karis LeVert, and he can play. By the way, we have our disinfectant wipes here. See-through disinfectant
I turned my shirt
wipes.
back around here.
Yeah, what's it say there, QB?
McKeithen Stadium, the final season.
The final season at the MAC. And I'll tell you, I'm really glad it's the final season at the MAC, to tell you the truth. I can't wait for the new ballpark. I'll be buying some tickets and going to those games and drinking a cold one. So that looks good to me. All right, so QB in the end.
Before we get there, let's go ahead and get our play of the day.
Oh, well, I think it's a great idea.
It's actually a player of the day, which is brought to you by Area Rug Masters. Your number one choice for all your area rug cleaning services at 352-448-5999. And it goes to Hannah Adams, number one for your Gator softball team. First career two-run, hitting 2 home runs, and they're beating who they beat? The Penn Quakers.
The Lady Quakers.
The Lady Quakers yesterday. But Hannah plays second base for the Lady Gators.
Yes, she does.
First time to hit 2 home runs in her career. So she is our Area Rug Masters player of the day.
That uniform she's got on, those pants with the blue stripe, when they put on the orange tops, it brings me back to the 1980s and 70s Gator baseball team when John Brantley played center field. I love the orange on orange. If they pull that back out.
Well, they have like 1,000 different
I know they have a lot of combinations, but this thing with the orange and the blue stripe going all the way down with the little Gator logo there near the belt buckle, I love that. You put that on and then do the all whites, Tim, and you've got a sharp-looking team right there, my man.
Well, I don't think they ever wear the same thing, JC. They're going to look sharp no matter what.
They are. Top fan Diane says, Go back up there. She asked me a question. Why does JC wear winter weight hoodies? Well, it was 58 degrees. I don't know. This morning, it's not that very thick. It's not thick. And wipe his brow. Well, we were doing this to demonstrate the need to stay, epidemiology. Diane, you stay clean. You get yourself all sanitized. I have to get on a plane Friday. Woo!
JC's going to have a mask and everything. And Rick says, his comment on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt, he says, back away, Shane. JC has the virus.
I do not have. I have no symptoms. Although that's
what are they going to do? What are you going to do when they
say
cancel
this
your
asymptomatic.
very competitive tennis matches?
Oh, well, tennis, that's not where people congregate, and you have plenty of space between each other.
Your little league may cancel.
My league?
Your league may cancel.
I don't know. I think nothing's going to get canceled because I don't think we're ready to go into the Italian panic, as I call it. And it is an Italian. Listen, they're just getting in front of this, and they don't want it to get worse. And I understand that, but their economy is going to take a massive hit this quarter, as will a lot of folks, because when people stay home and they don't go out, things don't happen. Restaurants, buses, service people, things like this just don't happen. All right, so we are close to NFL, CBA, free agency. I have the top 10 NFL free agents, QB. You tell me what you think of this. Right now they say that Dak Prescott is your number one free agent. He has been offered $33 million, $105 million guaranteed, $33 million per year by Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, and they need him to sign by July 15th. I don't know what that date is, what that signifies, but it has something to do with the NFL. All right, so Tom Brady then is considered the number 2 free agent in the top 10. Where's Tom Brady going to go? It's kind of like The Bachelor. They have this show. I never watch it, but they have this show where some guy gets 35 women to chase him. Or some woman has 35 guys to chase her, the Bachelorette, right? So that's what Tom Brady is. He's the Bachelor. The rest of the NFL, they are all chasing Tom Brady.
No, not everybody's chasing him. A lot of them can't.
A lot of them are, but some aren't. Okay.
That was a bad analogy.
Drew Brees, well, okay, it's a sorry analogy. Drew Brees is the third highest thought of free agent, but we all know he's staying in New Orleans. It's okay. Yannick Ngakoue.
He can rush the passer.
Edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will likely franchise tag him, but he wants out of Jacksonville. He pretty much said that. Another guy, the number 5 pick is an offensive lineman, a guard for the Washington Redskins named Brandon Scherf. Don't know anything about him really. Jadeveon Clowney, your South Carolina guy, played for South Carolina, went to the Houston Texans in the draft, overall first pick, and now plays with Seattle. Where will he end up? He's had some core issues right here, some injury problems with his hips and so forth. Ryan Tannehill, what will the Tennessee Titans do there, QB? Is Ryan Tannehill going to get $30 million because he had a good year last year and took the Titans to the AFC Championship game? Or will the Titans let him go and sign Tom Brady? That's a big discussion. If you had to bet either way, would you say they're going to keep Ryan Tannehill, which I do believe they're going to want to do, or would they let him go and try to go after Tom Brady because Mike Vrabel FaceTimed Tom Brady and Julian Edelman at a basketball game a week and a half ago? Which I don't think that's tampering, but we are in the legal tampering period right now in the NFL. So
I don't really.
What will Ryan Tannehill do? You don't even guess.
Don't know. Can't even
Chris Jones is the Super Bowl winning defensive lineman who plays for Kansas City. He came from Mississippi State. I actually met him at the Dancing Rabbit at the Silver Star in Philadelphia, Mississippi before his senior season with all of the other Mississippi State offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and he was there, and he was a big, big man. Shaq Barrett is your number 9, and Hunter Henry, your tight end. He would be your 10th thought of free agent. Now, my question for you, QB, is do the Dallas Cowboys, who have yet to decide on what to do with Amari Cooper, but who gave up a number 1 draft pick for Amari Cooper, do they give him money before they start before they get really into the Dak Prescott thing, which they've already offered money to?
They probably will.
You think they'll sign him?
I cannot believe what's being offered to Dak Prescott.
I know you're still on that thing.
I don't get it.
Well, I gave you numbers yesterday that you ignored. You just poo-pooed my numbers. They don't
matter.
I'm telling you, that's what agents talk about.
I'm going by eyeball test.
Well, listen, this agent who represents Dak Prescott says your eyeballs are crazy. So it's an opinion.
If he was my player, I would say the same thing. But my point is,
yes, you would.
Could you name 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that you would take before Dak Prescott?
I think it
I'm
depends
asking.
on the personnel and depends on the team. But I definitely think there are possibly 10 guys, but he wants to be a top 3 paid quarterback, and that's what I think is going on. But the thing with Amari Cooper is that they need him. Dallas has the best third down conversion offense basically in the NFL since they signed Amari Cooper. That is a big deal, and they need to keep him around for guys like Dak Prescott if they keep Dak Prescott. Because if he doesn't take that $33 million or that $105 million guaranteed, which is unbelievable, he's going to get franchise tagged. They are going to keep him at least for one more year under the franchise tag rules. What are those rules? Those rules basically mean he gets paid amongst the top 5 players at his position for 1 year. They don't like that deal, the players, because, well, that doesn't give them long-term security in their mind in the league. However, $105 million is long-term security. So I don't understand what he's arguing here. He's going to turn into Le'Veon Bell, although Le'Veon Bell didn't even show up when they franchised him at Pittsburgh, and it cost him $14 million, and he gets traded to the New York Jets and plays in obscurity, relative obscurity in the New York Jets. Believe it or not, you can do that in New York when your team sucks. So the Steelers lost when he didn't sign. He lost money when he didn't sign. It was a joke, and Le'Veon Bell blew it, in my opinion. But here's Dak Prescott. Is he going to turn down $105 million? I don't know, but they will franchise him. So he will play for the Dallas Cowboys next season, whether you like it or not, I think. So whether they keep him after 1 year is debatable. Why he won't sign a $33 million per year deal right now and won't take $105 million guaranteed is beyond me. I think he's listening to some bad advice. That's just my thought.
I agree 100% with that.
I think that's what we have.
His agent is just he obviously doesn't watch other games.
I think it's crazy. Tom Brady, though, is the big one. Tom Brady, where will he end up? He's gonna let people come to him. You know, when Peyton Manning was a free agent, he went on tour. He went to here, he went to there, he went over here, and he went over there. Tom Brady's just going to chill, and they're going to come to him. And, you know, he cannot be franchised in New England. His contract stated, the last one that he signed, that he could not be franchised. So he will not be franchised. They're either going to give him the max deal as a quarterback for 2 years in New England, or he's not going to play for the Patriots.
Well, if I'm him, I wouldn't want to play for the Patriots.
Well, I know.
I don't think they have very good talent at all.
Yeah, well, that showed in the end of last season. They really kind of bombed out and lost at home to the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs, and then lost the week before to the Miami Dolphins to miss out on an open date.
They won a lot of games that, I mean, they played some
play an
horrible
awful
teams.
division. They play in the worst division in my mind. I don't care if the Buffalo Bills went to the playoffs. That division has been absolutely been pathetic for so many years consistently between Buffalo, Miami, and the stinking Jets, that it's so easy for New England year in and year out to have 6 wins before the schedule even gets.
We got a text on the Titan MRI text line from Paul. Paul asked, guys, do y'all really think Brady has a chance to go to Tampa?
I think he does. The Boston Globe also thinks he does, or at least Boston Globe put that out there. And here's the thing. Tampa's not going to – they're not signing Jameis Winston. I just don't think they are. They can't risk another 30 and 30, meaning 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. They don't want 30 interceptions. That ruined their season because that team played defense last year that was good enough to make it to the playoffs. They've got wide receivers who are as good as anybody in the league. They can find a running game. Their offensive line needs a little work, but I think Tampa's a great location. You got tax-free state of Florida, income-wise. You got beautiful climate in Tampa, water everywhere. I'm sure the wife would love it there. I mean, why wouldn't you go? Now, maybe it's because it's a disaster area and they can't win games. I just told you why they didn't win games last season. Because this idiot threw 33 interceptions or something. And I don't hate Jameis. I'm not saying that he's awful, but I'm just saying he was careless with the football. And Bruce Arians just can't have that, and a team can't recover from that. And they played very well at the end of the year, and I don't know. I just don't think they're going to sign.
When you talk about numbers, you know, and Dak's agent has put together his package of all of his numbers.
Yeah,
if you look at Jameis's numbers and you decrease his interceptions,
then he's great.
He threw for more yards than anybody in the league.
He's unbelievable. The touchdowns are great.
So that's what I'm saying. Numbers, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes numbers lie.
Well,
and I think Dak Prescott's numbers are lying.
You're saying they're liars?
No, I'm saying.
No, I mean you're saying
why did Jameis throw for so many yards? Because he was behind and had to throw at the end of games.
That's a great point.
The Cowboys, they were behind a lot.
Yeah.
And they had to throw.
Well, now, these numbers that I gave you, QB, were for 2016. Since he played, he has better numbers than Russell Wilson.
Well.
And that's 2016, QB. That's not last year. That's since he started playing. And
right, but my point
so,
is,
I mean, those
how many,
numbers.
but what's
that's
the
Russell
record?
Wilson.
What is their winning? How many games were the Cowboys winning since
the
2016?
Only time, and the only thing I can remember is they got to the divisional playoff round and lost to the Rams
One
2 years
time.
ago. So
He's been in the playoffs one time.
3 years ago?
I think. But my point is,
3 years
sometimes when you look at statistics, they don't tell the real story.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, you're throwing
Statistics
for a
are
bunch
for
of
losers.
yards.
I get it. Stats are for losers, and I see that. But a lot of people, especially these agents who are trying to work these
Well, no,
deals,
that's
he's doing his
he's
job.
doing his job.
But
I
I don't
get it.
think he's doing Dak any favors by telling him not to take this deal. Dallas is more than generous, I think, with what they're offering. I think Jerry's got a reputation for paying guys, and so why he wouldn't take this deal? And I'm not saying he won't. He might not, or he might, but he hasn't yet. And it blows my mind how you can sneeze at $105 million guaranteed in football. Come on, in football. It could be over tomorrow in football for you as a player. You know that. So I just.
Do you think the new CBA is going to get passed?
I think some guys are actually asking to change their votes, but I think the majority of players, since you and I both know that over 60% of the players in the NFL make the minimum, I think because of that, this deal works for them.
Absolutely,
and they are going to vote it in spite of what the Pounceys and the Rodgerses and the Wilsons want to tell them.
It's ridiculous.
It is stupid. You take that $200,000 raise, you take that extra roster spot, you play that extra game. It doesn't matter. You've got to get paid because your career in the NFL is very short. So I think they will vote for it.
I would vote yes if I was a player.
And I think
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Will do a lot of what
we got a Facebook comment question here from Chris. Says, "Good morning, guys. Love your show." Chris from McClenny. He asked, out of all the NFL teams I played for, which one did I like best? Was it cool getting back with Spurrier and the Redskins? Coach and I butted heads a little bit with the Redskins, but 7 of my 14 years were in Chicago. I don't have a favorite team or a favorite city. I enjoyed playing in, all the different places. Met a lot of great people, but I would probably lean towards Chicago since that's where I played the longest.
Yeah, and you also played in Buffalo and in Carolina and in Cincinnati
and Miami,
and ended up in Miami at the last couple of days.
Yeah, the Bears, great organization. It was fun living up there part of the year. Yeah, so I would lean Bears.
You would lean Bears. Now, when you went to Washington with Spurrier and the Redskins, you just said you butted heads. Does that mean on play calling or what was it?
Yeah, we argued a lot.
Well, but you guys didn't argue much in college.
No. But I was just, it was more protection because I'd been in the league for 6-7 years when he came in, and I just
You're getting hit a lot. I do remember
we
that.
did get hit a lot.
There was one game in Jacksonville. I, honest to God, don't know how you got off the field.
But Coach's problem with the Redskins, he didn't have a legit NFL starter.
Yeah. No, it was tough. You did win your first game, though.
Yeah, I went 4-3 as a starter for him. So
4-3.
That's a winning record, I believe.
Winning record it is.
All right, we're going to take a time out here. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning.
And you never lost a home game at Florida.
Never.
How about that?
Only guy. I didn't know that till he told me that. So this is the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We're going to get Blake Alderman on the line, talk Gator recruiting.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate primary care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Walking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're going to go to the Titan MRI hotline now. And we are joined by Blake Alderman. Blake Alderman is a recruiting analyst for Swamp 247 on the 247 Sports Network and covers the Gators. And he was kind enough to join us. He's up at a conference up in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Central Time up there.
Yeah.
So Blake, welcome to the program. How are you?
It's early.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So this past weekend, I think it was Junior Day here on campus at the University of Florida. Talk about some of the big-time recruits that Dan Mullen and his staff had in.
You know, it was a pretty loaded weekend. You know, I haven't done this a long time, but I've done this long enough to see that this was probably one of the best junior days that I think I've seen since I've covered recruiting. You know, they always have the, expected and, these lists that you see are, pretty insane. But I think that the staff did a pretty good job of actually getting some of these guys to go through it, making it to campus. Quite a few five-star guys on campus for Florida. Probably one of their biggest targets this cycle. He's a defensive tackle from Miami at Palmetto High School, Leonard Taylor. He's the number 4 overall player on 247sports. He hasn't named any outright leaders. He hasn't named any, solid finalists or anything of that nature. But he's not shy in saying that Florida's staff is the one he has the best relationship with. He's very close with them. I think this is a guy that's going to stretch his recruitment out pretty late, maybe, sometime into the fall. Obviously, if he changes his mind, you never know how some of these kids are. But my point is I think whenever he does cross that bridge of making a decision, I think Florida is the team to beat. They just kind of have to weather the storm with how, you got big-time guys, man. They're going to have those big-time schools come after him. Teammate of his, a 5-star cornerback, Jason Marshall, was also on campus as well. One of Florida's top targets at DB. He doesn't have a lot to say, but, Florida is definitely in the mix. I talked to some people that feel that Florida could even very well be the team to beat, but this is another guy that's probably not going to make a decision until later in the cycle. So I think Florida sits really well there. Miami Palmetto is one of the more loaded high schools this cycle for 2021. And Florida's in the mix for 5 guys there. They have 1 committed there in Brashard Smith. He's an all-purpose back. So Florida's really doing their due diligence there. Another big-time target, 5-star player for Florida they had on campus was 5-star offensive tackle Marius Mims out of South Georgia. Florida's got him on campus. This was the second time. They're really prioritizing him because, this is your prototypical left tackle, 6'7", 6'7.5", long, lanky, kid that can move. Everyone needs those kind of offensive tackles like that. There's always one guy every cycle, I feel like, that's like, a monster, looks like he's going to be like a future NFL, first rounder type. And I think that's what Amarius Mims does. I think right now I would say that he's fairly open. But in the same sense, he's got probably about 4 schools that he's really taken a heavy look at. Georgia was kind of the team to beat early on, but Georgia's kind of been dealing, at least on the offensive line, they've been dealing with the loss of Sam Pittman. They're still kind of dealing with it now, whereas he was a great recruiter. He was a great coach for Georgia, and they're kind of dealing with some that, are getting to know a new coach, and they're kind of putting the pieces back together. And so Georgia, Clemson, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, those are some schools he's looking at. Doesn't seem like he's another guy that's in any hurry. Florida also had a 5-star wide receiver from down in South Florida in Ja'Cory Brooks. Another guy who's pretty open with the process, but Florida, from all accounts, from kind of touching bases and, seeing how everything went last weekend, Florida feels like they're very much in the mix there. So, big-time wide receiver for the Gators. It's crazy to see all these 5-star players on campus for Florida. Like I said, it was just one of the best junior days I've seen.
Yeah.
They also had a commitment, Nick Elksness. He was leaning to Florida. He's a former Penn State commit. He backed off that commitment 2 weekends ago. Immediately set a visit to Florida. really likes Tim Brewster, and it just seemed like it was kind of trending that way. And they got him to go through with a commitment on last weekend's junior day. So yeah, I mean, I could sit here and probably go on and on until probably next week naming off all these big time kids there. So, I mean, all things considered, it was a really good junior day. Florida had a lot of their top targets on campus, and I think that they really took the next step with some of these kids.
So Blake,
they're really in the mix.
So Blake, our viewers and our listeners know, is there a big difference between the junior day when they come for the weekend compared to when they come on their official visits next year?
Yeah, there are some differences, yes and no. But I think for the junior day, you get that time around the coaching staff that maybe you don't get for a game day visit, when they're obviously coaching and they have lots of things going on. So, the junior day, you get to see a lot of things. You get to, go see the sites. You break down film, you hang out with the coaches. So, yeah, there are a lot of similarities. But I think the official visit is just so much more. Those are the kind of the visits where you roll out that red carpet. You really, kind of pull out all the stops and you show everything there. But, there are a lot of similarities there just because of, on the junior day, you get so much time around those coaches. And I think that that's what the kids like, especially if they bring their family there. So I think that there are some similarities there, but the official visit kind of kicks it up a little bit of a notch.
We got a text here from the Titan MR text line for you, Blake, and they want to know what has been the biggest difference in recruiting since Tim Brewster was added to this coaching staff?
We're still kind of feeling things out just because it's still pretty new. But, I mean, we've got a guy here that hasn't even been officially hired by the University of Florida. Obviously, he's working. He's been talked about by Mullen at his recent press conference. I mean, he's got 2 commitments already. He's done at his position. He's landed 2 tight ends already for Florida. So I think that the difference that he brings is that he's just, I'll back up and say that whenever Nick Elksness showed up to campus, he showed up with his grandparents. Tim Brewster's waiting for him outside. It's all hugs. It's all happiness. So I think that he's one of those guys. And when you talk to some of these kids that are actually being recruited by him, they feel like they've known him for like ever, that he's just got that connection with a lot of these kids. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting seeing him be on Florida staff. He's done it at his position, so he can kind of help with guys in his area. He can help with other big-time targets for Florida. So I think when you have a guy like that who's, such an ace recruiter, and he's known as a closer, and now you've got him helping you with some of your top targets, I think that it's going to be really beneficial for Florida. And I think that this is going to be – I'm interested to see how things go this cycle because Florida has a chance to have a really good 2021 class. Right now, I know it's early and we've got plenty of time. Florida sits just behind Ohio State for the number 1 class. That could obviously change. Schools are going to continue to add players, and we've got a long way to go here. But I think when you have a guy like Tim Brewster on your staff, I don't think you can count Florida out to stay consistent in one of those top classes. And with how loaded the state of Florida is this cycle, especially in South Florida where Brewster has a lot of ties, I think he's gonna be a really big addition for Florida. And I think that with how he can be, bring the mix of a really great coach with just the guys he's coached over his career and the knowledge he has, and he mix them with what he's got with the recruiting, I think that was Coach Mullen's best hire yet.
We're speaking with Blake Alderman, 247 Sports, Florida Recruiting. Blake, JC here with you. Zach Evans is a running back out of Texas, Houston area. Went to Georgia, came back out of there. Is there anything you can tell us about what Florida's chances are, or anything that you may know about what he's leaning to do? He's somewhat unpredictable, but he is a highly rated 5-star running back, and I'm just curious if there's anything new about Zach Evans for Florida.
You really hit the nail on the head with the word unpredictable, and that's kind of what I've gathered just from this. See, lucky me, I've seen kind of all the craziness that's gone on this recruitment, but I feel like I got into the mix kind of late, so right. I'm pretty happy with that. He's set an official visit to Florida. He'll be there on March 20th for that weekend.
Okay.
So he's coming to campus soon. It'll be his last official visit.
Oh.
But see, here's the thing, though. So he can take the official visit, and there's really no telling when he would make a decision after that. But this is a guy that can't sign another letter of intent since he signed that one with Georgia and he was released from it in December. So even if he does make a decision earlier, if he does wait, I mean, either way, let's just say total what if here. He could pick Florida or he could pick Tennessee after his visits, whatever. Those are the 2 schools I feel like are the most in the mix there. Mm-hmm. But he's, as you've seen, a commitment could really not mean much for him with a guy who's kind of been all over the place. So he can't sign another letter of intent. He's basically just a guy who's just going to have to enroll with whatever school he picks closer to Summer A when that's most likely expected he's going to be on campus. So
Okay.
Florida's really prioritizing him. It's Tim Brewster who's joined the mix now, who's got a great relationship with Zach from back when he was at Texas A&M on staff. So him and Zach are really close. Greg Knox, Brian Johnson. I mean, this is there's a lot of guys at Florida that are calling this kid and talking to him every day. They feel like the conversations are great. But again, I think it's Florida and Tennessee, kind of the battle there, looking at things. A lot of questions will be answered on this official visit, and this is a guy who's never even taken a visit to Florida yet. But I think that relationship with Brewster is going to play a big factor for Florida. Just kind of checking things around and touching bases with some sources. Florida feels like if this guy gets on campus, they're going to be if not the team to beat, they're going to be thick in the mix there.
Time.
So
Big time
yeah,
guy.
so a lot of things kind of are hinging off this official visit, but I think all things considered, you have to really like where Florida's at for a guy like that who hasn't even taken a visit to Florida. So we'll see how things go.
So for sure that on March 20th he's going to visit.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless he changes his mind sometime before then, but
that could happen. Hey, Blake, we just had a text here on the Titan MR text line from Leroy. He wants to know, can you give us a rundown about the quarterback that's committed, the Del Rio kid out of Georgia?
Yeah, I really like him. I think he's still kind of learning things. And he's kind of your typical Dan Mullen quarterback, to where he's a really, stellar athlete. He can run. The passing it's a work in progress, but he's working on things. I think he's going to continue to, improve his game. And a lot of these guys that I've seen that Mullen has recruited, that the best thing that I think, and it's promising whenever you look at, because you have to trust Mullen's evaluations on a quarterback, just because he's just a quarterback guru. But I think the thing you like to see is a guy who takes that step from his junior year to his senior year, and I'm interested to see that Carlos Del Rio does that. From seeing him, kind of in the off season and what he's done, a couple coworkers have had eyes on him, and they were pretty impressed with him too. So I think in some areas he's pretty raw, but I'm interested to see. And I think it could even be kind of comparable to last cycle with Anthony Richardson, to where junior year to senior year, it's like night and day, to where, he really took his game to the next level. So, Del Rio is at Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia, which is one of the biggest high schools in the state of Georgia. It's big time football, and, I'm going to have an eye on him this year. And I think that, I think he's going to be a good addition to Florida's quarterback room with, all these guys that they're bringing in that fit that mold, what Mullen wants, where, you're a willing runner, but, you can throw. And, I think he's going to fit in really well.
Blake, do you think, because there's the big facility upgrade that Florida has, and, when these kids can come in now, they can see the drawings, the renderings of what the new facility is going to look like. You got to think that's helping in recruiting. Obviously, what Dan's done on the field, winning as many games as he's had in 2 years, but we're so far behind in that facility aspect. Don't you think that's helping these days?
Absolutely. I don't know that that's going to be, it might not be the decision why a kid picks Florida, but, things like that, it's just kind of keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, you look at Clemson, they've got a facility that, it's this big facility. It's, it's got a freaking slide in it, man. Some of these things are pretty outrageous. South Carolina's got a new facility. So I think if you want to keep up with, the Bamas, the Clemsons, these big time schools that have had these things for a while, again, it might not be the decision why a kid picks Florida, but, whenever you comparing some of these schools, Florida's not necessarily going against Florida State or Miami anymore for recruits, just because, quite frankly, those two programs aren't where Florida is right now. So Florida's competing against, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Alabamas, these big time schools that have these things. So I think it gives you a reason to not eliminate Florida, because it doesn't have something that another school has. So I think it's going to be really beneficial for Florida. The players are going to love it. And, you want to make your players happy. It brings excitement to some of these kids because they light up when they see the video and the plans of things. So I think it's going to be really good for Florida. And it's something that, like you said, Florida's been pretty behind on some of their facilities. So, it's well needed. Final question for you, and you kind of touched on it. Do you think Dan Mullen now has kind of locked down the state of Florida on the big-time recruits? I don't know that I could say he's locked things down, just because, Clemson came in last year and got a couple guys. Georgia's come in and got a couple guys. But I feel like from looking from when Mullen started to where we're at now, I feel like it's getting better every year. And I think that winning helps that. I think that connections with some of these kids to where, Mullen, a lot of these coaches on the staff, coming in, they really didn't have a lot of ties to the state of Florida. I mean, obviously they did, but they didn't really have deep ties like what you would kind of expect. So I think that they've worked on these relationships with some of these kids. I think they're starting to get to the point now where Florida was maybe even one of the first schools to offer some of these kids just because they've had time to evaluate things so deeply there. So I think Florida is starting to win some of these big time battles for some of these kids. Obviously, you flip a Joshua Braun last cycle from Georgia. You land an Xavier Henderson, who you had to beat out you had to beat Clemson out for, and for the most part, he was saying Clemson led all year. So I think you're starting to see some of these top tier guys, these elites that Florida needs to start landing to kind of stay consistent with the LSUs, these big time schools that Florida is going against for some of these recruits, and they play on the schedule every year. So I think that Florida can do better, and they can obviously take that next step this cycle. They're in the mix with a lot of the top kids in the state of Florida for the 2021 cycle. So I think this is the year that Florida can kind of put that bow and that statement to say that, we're locking these guys down in the state of Florida. But, there are some guys that have gotten out of state, and they're not going to land everybody. I think you have to just kind of be realistic there. But I think that the trajectory that Florida's on, I think you have to be really excited for that.
No doubt. I'm hoping he gets they really impressed this Zach Evans kid. I can't quit following him, but I'm at some point I kind of get tired of talking about him. But I think he's probably gonna really enjoy his trip here. Hey, Blake, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, Blake, let everybody know where they can follow your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Swamp 24/7. We are the Florida Gators 24/7 sports site. Myself, Bob Redmond, Thomas Goldcamp. I cover the recruiting side of things, and I cover everything. I'm pretty much always at every kind of event that there's going on. So I'm still writing things. This publisher conference kind of put me behind, so I'm still putting content out from junior day. When you have a lot of guys like that on campus, obviously SEC tournaments coming up, so it's never a slow day on Swamp 24/7. So I would urge anyone to check that out.
All right, Blake. Well, we appreciate you joining the program, and we'll talk to you on down the road, buddy. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That's Blake Alderman. You can check him out on Twitter at Blake_Alderman as well. And as he mentioned, he's the recruiting analyst for Swamp 24/7.
That's good stuff, man. He's got a lot of good information, a lot of good names. Just looking through that schedule, QB, as we get close to wrapping it up for a Wednesday. Eastern Washington will be here to open the season, and then the Kentucky Wildcats the next week. And then you've got South Alabama coming in, the Jaguars. So you would like those 3 first games to go Florida's way at home.
I think they will.
And then, of course, that first road game to Tennessee on September 26th. Then the Gamecocks come down here on the following weekend on October 3rd. And then LSU, defending national champions, October 10th. And then the trip that I think everybody's been talking about, looking forward to, and I hope it will have an undefeated team going to the Grove to play Lane Kiffin and the Mississippi Sharks on October 17th. And then that week off comes before the Georgia game, following by Vanderbilt at home, at Nashville, some good road trips for the Gator fans, the Gator Nation this year. And then Missouri at Florida, New Mexico State, and then we wrap it up.
Yep, sounds like a lot of celebrating at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon to HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate.
That's a segue, QB.
Yes. You like that?
You just segued in.
We're going to do a lot of celebrating next year.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to coming back tomorrow and seeing. So, what time does Florida play today? Tomorrow.
No, tomorrow night. Let me see that last scroll down, and we got a good morning, fellas, from Antoine. Listen to you guys every day on my way to work, representing Gator Nation all the way from Chicago.
Way to go, Antoine. That's awesome.
That's brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys.
And then Chris, before that, says you threw a Hail Mary to, I remember the game. I will tell you who it was against.
Who?
The Cleveland Browns.
It sure was.
And he threw a last
You win a free T-shirt from Davis Chevrolet.
I'll take it. Hey, thanks for listening, Antoine, and watching. Tell all your friends up in Chicago, baby. We would love to take over the Chicagoland.
The Windy City.
The Windy City for the Gator Nation and all of the SEC fans. I wonder how cold it is there right now. Yeah.
Is it cold up there right now?
I would think so. March, it still hasn't gotten warm up there. I would think. Well, you live there, QB.
I know, but there'd be some days when it's 65 and the next day it's 22.
38 degrees.
That's not too bad.
Well, that's not too bad, but it's not going to be 78 degrees like it will be here in Gator Country. So That's good.
That's right. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by
Yeah.
Rat Spot. A vehicle wrap from Rat Spot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call Rat Spot today. We'll see you tomorrow. JC, you need to wrap your truck in or something.
Maybe I will with our faces on there.
There you go.
All right.